This week on The Wise Guys.
Like, everything has to change. Like, or like even closer to the point where it has to, not a revolution like type of thing, but like an internal or social or like a cultural revolution, how we deal with everyday life in general as black people.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you know, for me personally, I've been like I've been very dedicated to like studying about myself, about my people and stuff, and knowing the real true issues of what's going on. And it's just like, you know, like I was talking, we're so behind.
Yeah.
You know, we're so behind. You know, we've been, you know,
literally
the world has declared war on us.
Yeah.
You know, and it used every types of tricks and every type of you know, financial power, you know, media power, social power, military power, and it just stuffs black people in this certain like spot, you know, and then we just have to be vigorous.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Unglad, and you are now tuning in to the Wise Guys podcast, brought to you by Flowered Concrete. Check it out. Yo, what's going on? This is your boy, Kevin Unglad.
And this is Mark Pruden.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with another week, and another episode of the Wise Guys podcast. Mark, how you doing, brother?
Can't complain. It's a beautiful day. We have a special guest, so it's always good to have our first in-person guest.
Yes, our very, very first in-person guest on the Wise Guys podcast this week. Ladies and gentlemen of the Wise community, if you have been tuning into the Wise Guys since the top of the year, since January, right? We've brought on a wealth and abundance of guests onto the show, you know, ranging and spanning from all different types of backgrounds and walks of life, you know, whether it's dealing with, you know, credit card debt, mortgages, student loans, you know, talking about the socioeconomics of the black community and how that plays into us building generational wealth or not, and how we can break all of these cycles. You know, there's just a wealth of information that always needs to be shared. And this next guest coming onto the show, he's, like Mark said before, he's our first in-person guest on the Wise Guys, but then at the same time, he's also a returning guest.
Exactly. So
the fact that he's a returning guest, I no longer want to call him a guest after this because he's officially a Wise Guy, you know?
There we go.
So with that being said, without further ado, for this episode 43, Hood Politics, This Is America Part 2, all right? We're doing a Part 2 to that first episode of This Is America, the prequel back from Season 1, Episode 20, I think it was. Episode 21, yes. Please, without further ado, Jerome Davis. Jerome, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back into the Wise Guys.
Thank you for having me again, man. It's a blessing.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
How you feeling, man? How's your day been going?
I'm great, man. You know, it's been going. It's a beautiful day outside. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Sounds good.
Welcome to Brooklyn. Welcome to the studio.
All right, thank you.
So Jerome, Mark, you guys both know how the show go, right? Obviously, you know, we've been doing this for a while. You've done this already with us. Now you're doing it in person. So get ready for another, you know, addition to the convo in terms of us all being in person. So today's episode, gentlemen, is called Hood Politics, as I said before. So we're talking a lot about the nation itself and the politics that goes into shaping, creating, and honing our hoods, our neighborhoods as black folks, all right? So I wanted to kind of throw some information at both of you gentlemen, before we kind of like, you know, delve into it, you know?
Right.
So check this out. In the 1930s, right, the Federal Homeowners Loan Corporation and the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, used color-coded maps to rank the investment potential of residential areas for banks, insurance companies, loan associations, and other investors, right? Excellent prospects for investment, predominantly white neighborhoods, were green. Other desirable areas were blue. Declining areas were coded yellow, and predominantly black communities were coded red. Properties in these so-called redlined neighborhoods were deemed unsafe investments and were typically ineligible for federally backed mortgages. Racially biased sales practices blocked black people from buying property outside of black neighborhoods, and redlining made it all but impossible to obtain mortgages to buy property in black neighborhoods. Those able to buy homes faced exorbitant interest rates, unstable property values, and high risk of default and foreclosure. This is all coming from the Equal Justice Initiative. So when you think about all that information that I just threw at the both of you, and you think about what we're here to talk about today, I'm currently wondering, what was the intention of the Federal Homeowners Loan Corporation and the Federal Housing Administration to color code these maps and to kind of rank the areas in which these loans were either given, not given, and how things were spread across the communities? What do you both think? Why do you think these policies were placed into effect?
I'm thinking, it's an obvious way for them to delay or stop altogether the wealth building of African Americans. Because, almost 70% of the average person's wealth is in their home. So if we take away the African American's ability to own a home, then we take away their wealth. And wealth is power. So if we can limit their wealth, they have no power. It's just the way you have people now in black communities that, they scream that they hate... They hate when white people come in. They hate when what's the word they use? Gentrified. Yeah. They're like, oh, my neighborhood's being gentrified, and they're angry. It's like, how can you complain when you don't own anything in the neighborhood? The only way you can control the gentrification in your neighborhood is to own. But if you take away their ability to own, their wealth building potential is lowered. All they can do is complain. They can't really do anything about it. So that's what I feel. It's just a way to delay their wealth building and give whites a head start. Because, we all know that all of these racist laws eventually get overturned. But by the time they get overturned, the damage is done. Whites were able to build 10 times more wealth than African Americans have now. So
right.
I think it was definitely, it did what it had to do. It did what it's intended to do. So
absolutely.
I think that was just executed perfectly in their eyes.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Jerome, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, same. I think I'll kind of piggyback because, that kind of was like the cultural belief at that time, just the whole racist, and it's just like you kind of carry that with you in your like occupation. Like they say in like political science, they'll say like you can tell how a certain candidate is going to behave just by his cultural ideas,
right?
And he's going to function like that. Even when he gets into a certain kind of office, he's going to go to these certain beliefs he already has. And I feel like the country, most of the time, we're talking about the 1930s.
Yeah.
When you say that racist wasn't,
right.
wasn't a big issue, then it was.
Yeah.
1865, but you have 45, 55 years, or 60 years.
That's true.
That you've been, out of, emancipated. Yeah. So like the policies, just like all those, racist tendencies, just like seeped into like just the whole financial system and the housing system, and you just saw the backlash of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel as if like a lot of these policies and these different housing acts and things that were put into place, from the emancipation of slavery, in 1865, even when you think of Juneteenth, Galveston, Texas, they didn't get the news until 2 years later that they had been freed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're 2 years behind on building something because they had no clue as to what was going on in regards because Massa knew but wasn't going to tell you anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep these niggers still enslaved. They don't know. They don't know. Same thing is if we hide something in a book, they won't go and find it. Or they can't read.
Definitely.
And you think of Jim Crow. You think of civil rights. You think of even this, right? COINTELPRO. It almost seems as if like a lot of these things all intertwine and connect and play a part in terms of the disruption of building anything.
Yeah.
Constantly. Through decades over the past 250 years.
Yeah, I think so. There's clearly a reason why we didn't get that 40 acres and a mule, because imagine if they would have gave every former slave 40 acres. We'd be able to pass down 40 acres, you know, to generation after generation. We would build serious wealth. They knew they couldn't do that.
Right.
Because if they gave us that 40 acres and a mule, that would have empowered African Americans so much that it would have been impossible to truly suppress them.
Yeah.
Just think if every black person had 40 acres of land, like, we would have our own communities. We would have our own airports and you know, bus routes. Just it's crazy, man. That's just, it would have been just too much power. And that's the reason why they pulled the cord on that quickly. Because it was a good thing to, you know, make us feel like we're gonna get it, but it's just like, nope, can't do that.
Yeah.
Good idea, but
like a year after, 2 years after wasn't they giving land a little bit after the sewer?
they gave it to a few people.
Yeah, we're gonna just take this back.
Yeah, this isn't a good idea.
You don't need this anymore.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
40 acres.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Jerome?
No. I think it is.
So let me ask both of you guys this question right here. Here's our first official question for today's show. And this is Wise Community. This is a part of our first segment of the day called The Nation Divided. I just kind of wanted to bring historical context into the conversation to kind of set us up for the convo. So yes, for this first segment 1, A Nation Divided, can the dismantling of redlining bring about change for the black community? Would it enable us to finally get our start in economic and social empowerment? So when I ask that question, I'm talking about black businesses, you know, social conditions amongst the community, opportunities, you know, networking within our own bubble. What do you guys think?
Me personally, I'm gonna be a devil advocate. I'm gonna say no. I don't think so, because I feel like, you know, like coming from New York, or what I see in New York, maybe I can't talk for the whole country, but it's just, I feel like, you know, just the way how to approach like finances and like just life, I feel like culturally, a lot of like, you know, black families and stuff like that don't have like the proper knowledge and education to like, you know, if you get these loans, you know, how much, you know, people are in credit card debt. You know, that's a common thing. How many people, the average American doesn't even know what he pays on the interest rate on his credit card.
That's a fact.
You know, the average one. The average American doesn't have the savings. Yeah. You know, and now you're talking about the people that has been historically disenfranchised, and then you're saying that once we give them all these services, they'll be able, or you're just asking for more debt. You know, I don't want to even say, you know, I don't even want, not to put the person name out. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and he was talking about, you know, getting more loans. I have a loan from this bank, but they're not giving me any more money. They said I maxed out.
Dang.
And he's like, maybe I'll go. We were talking about black banks. He's like, maybe I could go to one of the black banks and like get more. Like, so you're already in debt.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna add more debt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I personally don't feel like, you know, as a group of people, we have like the education there to, you know, to make I'd say, you know, a wealthy community or more educated community to progress financially.
Yeah, not much on that.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, brother?
Well, yeah, definitely, because to answer the question, I mean, redlining has been over, you know, for decades already. So even when they took away these racial programs, we still have the systematic racism in, you know, real estate, in stocks. And we're not saying that, you know, the stock exchange is racist, but the system in place prevents people, you know, people of color or people that are from, you know, low-income communities from actually investing. Because like you said, if you take away the education and you take away the ability for them to learn about how loans work and how stocks work and how bonds work, they're still ignorant. So they're going to fall into the financial traps that are laid for them. You know, we even were able to trick an entire generation of children, you know, to be in debt essentially forever, when we said, don't overspend on things you can't afford, but you can overspend for college. That makes no sense. we told them it's okay to overspend for college, and now they've put the shackles on for life to be, you know, indebted to an institution that won't let you. They don't even know that, you know, a lot of people don't know that with student loans you can't get out of them through bankruptcy. The only way to really get out of it is if you're not able to work, because they'll essentially take your Social Security payments, you know, when you're ready to retire if you don't pay it off. So even when they learn from their parents that credit card debt is bad, they have a new trick: the student loan. Now, when those student loan victims have children, they'll tell their children, "Don't get student loans; it's bad." Okay, the kids know that, but now there's going to be a new trap, and a new trap, and a new trap. It's just going to keep evolving as we learn. They're going to add a new curveball. So it's really it's hard to say. I mean, some people will say that this system doesn't exist, but I mean, we know as brothers that grew up in it, we know that there's a system in place. But they'll continue to call us crazy.
No, it's true. Yeah. It's very, very true. And I can't speak on a lot of these matters because I haven't fully invested myself or started indulging in a lot of these things. But one thing I can speak on is just my prior experience of, we talk about it all the time, Mark, about just being a student and working through college and stuff like that. You know, I was fortunate enough to, you know, do undergrad at Queensborough. Shout out to Queensborough, with both of you gentlemen for a little bit, right? Then as well as go to Brooklyn College, get my bachelor's there, and then go to Queens College. Shout out to both of those schools and get my master's there. And I'm gonna just be 100% real with y'all. I'm 29, about to be 30 in a year, and I feel as if where I thought I'd be at 29, going on 30, I'm not even at my life's journey point yet in terms of like where I want my income to be. And I'm like, man, like I was 20K in the hole at one point for my master's. Now I'm like at like 12,000 in the hole, 12K in the hole, which is better. You know, I'm cutting it down. But it's like with that, and then, you know, my little bit of credit card debt that I have and paying my bills, it's like, yo, I don't care. I'm gonna be honest. I got this, you know, I got a job working as a rehab therapist, and I'm still, you know, adjunct professor at Gould University. How the hell in 2020 I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, bro? That's crazy. I thought going to school, all those hours you saw me busting and knocking down in the library, bro, son, you know I thought I was gonna be gone. Like I thought I was like here already. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like what, 21, 22 at the time. You know what I'm saying? And like all those hours you saw me put it in, you know, in that joint, I thought I was gonna be so far ahead by the time I got to be at this point, at this age. Yeah. And it's just like, damn. Oh, so this is what it means to make 44 or 45K a year. You're not making 45,000 a year. You're making maybe 20, like 30, 31. And the other 14,000, you're being taxed out of your paycheck every week. Yeah. I didn't know that. I had no clue, bro.
Anybody tell you?
Nobody told me. I thought I'm gonna make 45, 46K directly, and all that money's going back to, like, even when the IRS and the tax season was coming around when I was in college and when I was like a teenager, I'm like, how does this taxes stuff work? Like, where's that money coming from? Like, you know, I'm seeing my mom paying taxes or whatnot. I said, well, shoot, I'm doing what I gotta do in college. I ain't worried about that because I'm about to make 45, 50K out this bitch easily. You know what I'm saying? I'm not thinking that I'm about to get taxed in a way in terms of like all that. Like if I make 2,100 every 2 weeks as a teacher, I'm only seeing 14 or 1,500 of that. I'm like, dang, like this is crazy. And then after they take out from my Medicaid, my Social Security, I'm like, shit, 1,300. Right, and 1,100 in 2 weeks. All right, shit. I guess I got a mess, but shit, I gotta cook this ramen noodles, nigga. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I say that to say, like, you know, we're talking hood politics and we're talking about redlining and all of these things, right? And going back to what Mark said, whether it's within the redlining of like black businesses, you know, the social conditions amongst the community, the opportunities, even with school, there's like it's like a ceiling for us. It almost feels like, you know. And we're kind of stuck in the rut. And by the time we think we're about to get out the rut, we're like 62 and we got 3 years until retirement. And now we've cleared all our debts. All right, you got 15 more years to live, motherfucker. Enjoy the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Have a good old ball.
Mm-hmm. It's always that interesting ceiling.
Yeah. Cycle of the modern man.
It's crazy, man.
It's always that interesting barrier in place. There's always a barrier. Just like we have a lot of brothers in prison right now that are in prison for marijuana offenses, you know. They're selling marijuana in dispensaries like it's all good, when we still got brothers rotting away in prison. And then if you're not a felon and you do want to join this industry, I was looking into the industry in Maryland. They want $250K just to get the license to sell it legally. Where's a brother gonna get $250K from to join this industry? You know, it's not made for him to join. That's the barrier put in place to prevent those low-income communities from stepping into this. So they're just like, this is for us now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You gave us the blueprint You know what I'm saying? And now
we go for the diamond nickel bags, man.
So we were watching closely on your Kush and bubblegum Kush. We know what you're like, man. And now they're selling us our own stuff.
Yes, it's crazy when you think about
$250K for the license, brother.
That's crazy.
But you know who's got that $250?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a system of us, no matter what field or what paradigm we find ourselves in, we're always being pimped. You could apply that to anything, brother. The framework of itself too. Like when you think about music and you think about hip hop and how hip hop started and how it was like, oh shoot, they rapping about this shit and people actually like, well, let's monetize on this motherfucker right here. Let's get, you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting when I think about that. Like, you're right. Give every single black person his 40 acres and a mule. This will cause great ramifications upon the government. We can't allow that to happen into this great beautiful nation. You know what I'm saying?
Because every white man didn't have 40 acres.
No.
So it's going to be like, whoa, we can't have them owning more than us. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a power shift there. Yeah, so.
Very, very interesting. Is desegregation, gentlemen, the answer to improving impoverished communities?
Desegregation?
So, check this out here.
Yep.
Author Richard Rothstein says the housing programs begun under the New Deal, right? The housing programs begun under the New Deal were tantamount to a state-sponsored system of segregation. Again, a state-sponsored system of segregation. The government's efforts were primarily designed to provide housing to white, middle-class, lower middle-class families, he says. African Americans and other people of color were left out of the new suburban communities and pushed instead into urban housing projects.
So you're saying, did that help us?
Right.
Desegregation?
Yeah.
Some people say, there's an argument that say it did it. It made things worse.
Yeah.
Alright, so like, some people would say that, what segregation did was it made the black worker more independent. As far as, as they build things within their own communities, they purchase things from their own communities, they borrow things from their own communities, and they built their own their community built its own type of wealth. And then just like a lot of people there are arguments, I don't know fully, but there are arguments where they say with desegregation kind of just made it all fall apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just put these people in a competition with the rest of working class and stuff, and now there are no more black owned grocery stores,
right.
corner stores. There are no more black owned certain businesses. Since I can't go up the block and get food from the white market, I'll go to the black one right here, and I'll build his business and stuff like that, and we'll all go here, and it's desegregation just didn't even level the playing field. It just collapsed the playing field. Because now it's competition everywhere.
That's true.
And that's one argument.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wholly agree with it, but that's just an argument.
That's true. That's actually what Malcolm was talking about. Malcolm X. He was saying, desegregation actually destroyed the black community because at first, we were riding on the buses owned by by black people. We were going to the bank owned by black people. We were going to the movie theater owned by black people. But when desegregation was put in place, everyone said, why am I going to ride on the black bus company when I can go to that nice white bus company? And then all the wealth shifted from the black businesses to the white because we wanted that inclusion. So sometimes that inclusion can it can be a detriment to our wealth because we're now taking away from our own and saying we want to participate with them, and now the business, like you said, the grocery store up the block, owned by the brothers, now missing out on business because everyone wants to go to the shiny one in the other neighborhood. So, man, it's tough, man. It's just, that could have been intentional as well. They said they're building too many businesses, man. We got to kind of shift this thing out.
You know what? And I see why you were a little bit confused with me at first because I wrote but I meant to write was desegregation the answer to improving.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay,
that was
cool.
my bad.
No, that's all good.
Sorry about that. Excellent. And I think we reached our final question of the day. Excellent. So moving forward, what is the solution or some possibilities in how communities of color can band together and uplift their own sector? Do we put our dollars into a mutual fund or a black bank to quantify results?
Well, I don't think it's a mutual fund or a black bank. I think if like the crowdfunding initiatives that are in place right now, like if we all put our dollars together and began buying property until we had enough property to have our own neighborhood or have our own, we can go crazy and say our own city. I think that would really push things forward, because at the end of the day, it comes down to what you own. Because a lot of people would say, oh, you know, if we all come together and buy stocks, that would be great. Yeah. But if you go to the bank and ask them for a loan on your stocks, they won't do it, because stocks are volatile.
Right.
But a bank will loan you money on your real estate, because real estate is tangible. It's actually, you know, it has a strong use case.
Yeah.
So I think the more real estate you own, the more power you own.
Right.
You can own all the stocks you want, but a bank's not going to say, keep your stocks and I'll give you a loan on your stocks. But a bank will say, keep your house and I'll give you a loan on your house. So it's a stronger asset. It's a more stable asset. So I think that if, you know, people, there's a couple initiatives like, I forgot the brother's name, but he's doing a crowdfunding campaign where he's, you know, buying blocks in Houston. And
I heard about that.
Yeah, and he's really doing a fabulous job, man. He's buying blocks in Houston, revitalizing them, and then selling them to black inhabitants. You know, only black people are being sold these houses. So he's keeping the neighborhood black while improving it. Now, most developers may say, you know, I'm going to, you know, buy up blocks and then I'm going to sell them to whoever. And he's being intentional, saying only black people.
Wow.
So that's unheard of, because he can get a lot more money if he just said, you know, we're going to gentrify this neighborhood and sell them all to white people or whatever race, it doesn't matter. But he's trying to focus on not gentrifying, because he also bought an apartment building and he fixed it up. He could have easily raised the rents, but he said, no, I'm going to keep the rents the same. You know, make sure my people aren't being priced out of their neighborhoods, man. And I was just like, wow, that's commendable, because I can't say I would do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but some people have a heart of gold, man. They're just here to really build and do something for the community.
Yeah.
It's interesting, really cool.
Yep. Jerome, your thoughts on that?
Oh man, that's a great question, though. That's like that's an enormous. To be honest with you, like I don't know where would we start to like change everything. Everything, like how our whole outlook on like the way we deal with life as a people, like everything has to change. Like, or like even closer to the point where it has to not a revolution like type of thing, but like an internal or social or like a cultural revolution, how we deal with everyday life in general as black people.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you know, for me personally, I've been like I've been very dedicated to like studying about myself, about my people and stuff, and knowing the real true issues of what's going on. And it's just like, you know, like I was talking, we're so behind.
Yeah.
You know, we're so behind. You know, we've been, you know, literally the world has declared war on us.
Yeah.
You know, and it used every types of tricks and every type of you know, financial power, you know, media power, social power, military power, and it just stuffs black people in this certain like spot, you know. And then we just have to be vigorous and very, you know, and ambitious on bettering ourselves. But how do you do that with every individual every day? How do you say that to the dude that live in the projects, or how do you say that to somebody in Charlotte? How do you say that in the black community in Compton, in Atlanta? How do you have this? You know, you know, this game of life is just funny. So, you know, that's what I say. It has to be a very 180 change with just the black conscious state. Yeah. You know,
definitely.
Because we even have to see things. Now, you know, we even have to see things not even on a American level, but on a global level. Like if you ask that average black dude what he knows about the black world,
right?
You know,
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
not many people will.
Yeah,
you know, it's honestly like if you look at You know, if you look at Europeans or if you look at whites, there's a whole interconnection internationally and in America. You know, there's Europe, there's Australia, and there's United States. There's this whole interconnected understanding of what what a Western civilization is. But you know, in the black community, it's just fragmented, just due to the past that we had.
Yeah.
So my whole thing, it just needs to be a whole revolutionary, like, conscious state of how we look at life.
Right.
All aspects of life.
Yeah.
Economically, you know, socially, and that's the only way I can see, you know, things actually changing, when there's a conscious effort. Because when you see, like, how people deal with, like, you know, if you look at, not to be like racial about it, but when you look at other people, like if it's like Jews, if it's like certain groups that come in, there's a certain way they respond to the ills of life. They respond a certain way.
Could you expound upon that?
Like financially, so they'll say sometimes, even like somebody that's coming from China or something like that. Like somebody will come. They say they'll come here and somebody will do the rag to riches. Like I'll wear the dirty shirts for now, for the next generation.
That's true.
I'm gonna do it all for my kids.
Right.
You know,
my parents did it coming from Haiti.
They'll come from somewhere else. I'm gonna eat. You know, I'm gonna take all the shitty jobs. I'm gonna do all the groundwork. So when my kids come, you know, it will just keep growing and growing.
It's interesting you say that, because like I think about my experience growing up as a young Haitian American kid, and you know, my mom worked as a home health aide for about 15, I'm lying, maybe like 22 years or something around that time frame. And home health aides, they're the lowest of the lows, you know what I'm saying? They go to the patient's house, you know, they take care of them, you know, take their pressure, stay with them, whatever, whatnot. And sometimes, like, I would barely see my mom. She would pull doubles, triples, gone the whole week. I probably would only see a Saturday morning, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're never around because they're out there doing that extra laborious work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they don't mind doing it, even if they lived a better life and they were more socioeconomically inclined in their home country, because their vision is for their kids, children, you know what I'm saying? So they will get down to the nitty gritty and just do it, you know what I'm saying? And us too, as black people in America, as black Americans, we would do it too to a certain extent, but we'll complain, flipping burgers, but they just do it. They just do it. They work so hard. They're a slave, but as long they have this vision that as long as my kids have a better life than me, and their kids have a better life, there's no problem with me doing this. They have no pride when it comes to like pulling up their sleeves and getting their hands
no.
Mexicans,
down,
you know what I'm saying?
They woke,
you know,
and then what happens?
Whoever.
Look up now. Look up. We all went to school. None of my parents graduated from. I'm the first generation. Me and my cousin is the only. My cousin became a doctor.
Yes, I remember.
And stuff like that. And it's like we were the only ones who finished college out of our family, because it's our family. Like, you know what? We're gonna work. Yo, just focus on school, man. Don't worry about what I'm doing here with bills. Like, you focus on that. And a lot of times I see now, there's like this real quick. You know, it's real. I want it now.
Yep.
I want all the money now. I want it now. I want to live it up now and leave nothing for tomorrow. And then, you know, I just think it's just a whole conscious state just needs to change.
I was actually listening to the Wise Guys podcast. I do listen to our show, The Wise Guys. Please check it out. All right, we're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts can be found. But I was actually listening to the Roommates podcast yesterday or the day before, and I remember the guy who was on there. His name was Kevin too, by the way. I guess he was like a relationship expert or something like that. But what he was saying can actually be made applicable to what we're saying here. He was saying that, because he was talking about men, black women, and single relationships, single mothers, fathers, and the dynamics of, you know, why they don't mesh and why they don't stay together, and the dysfunction of the broken home, whatever, whatnot. He was like, don't let any of the things you see out here right now with black entertainment, black culture, celebrity culture fool you. Black people, we're messed up. We are pitiful right now. We are so far behind. We need to get it together. We are not where we need to be, and it's a shame. And when he said that, I said, yo, when I think about all of the stuff that goes on in the world today, in black neighborhoods, black on black crime, you know, just the impoverishedness and just the impoverities of life and all this other stuff, all the things happening in the black community, is just like, you know, You know, you hear "fuck you" from the third floor on the projects. You try to sleep, shit like that. It's just like, yo, you might not know that situation, but just know he fucked up there. There's a lot of shit going on that holds us back as people, and it all stems back from just the systematic ways of oppression that have kept us in bondage for so long. You know?
Yeah, it's true. Because just the example that you just said, you know, looking in neighborhoods like that, and someone's yelling "fuck you" or something. It's like if you stand there for an hour and ask yourself, can we really come up as a people? Like, can we really transform this overnight when you've got, you know, situations like this?
Yeah.
And this isn't just one building. This is like hundreds of buildings. And
man.
it's like to say that we can flip that and have a community of wealth. It just sounds like a dream. You know,
it's a crazy human phenomenon, man, that makes the person just switch and just change.
Yeah.
You know, just switch and just change like that and just transform themselves.
It's true.
I don't know, like I was like, how does it? You could read so many books to see why it happens, when it happens, and it's just like you could fill a year worth of a semester on, and all the books would be right. It's like it's just a bunch of it's so many factors that make a people change. There's so many factors.
It's a fact, bro.
There's so many factors,
So many
and it's just like
factors.
it's kind of like a one in a million moment. Like how?
It's cushioning past like the bubble million. It's layered.
Yeah,
it's layered, extremely layered.
It's funny because, you know, people will say things like, you know, just give them the education. It's the education. It's not the education. If I stack a bunch of books in the projects right now, they'll still be there.
No, it's true, man. Yo, you know what? It's true because like I'll go like around my neighborhood is the Langston Hughes,
Right.
The Langston Hughes Library.
Mm-hmm. I'm the only black person there.
Right. Right.
If I go study, if I go read something, I don't see the people that it was built for don't even use it.
Yeah. It's not just the education. It's the mindset. But how do you change someone's mind? You need therapy. You need some.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way because it's like life changes it. Right. You know what I mean? Like circumstances changes it. Yeah. There's no way. Like yo, you think it's funny? Like not to intercede, but it's funny. Like we always used to talk about the Haitians, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Haitian Revolution, right?
Yes, we always did. Yes.
I was a real big fan of it because it was just something in history that I never really learned about. Right. But you're talking about over 100 years you've been there and you never thought about. You did in a little specks and stuff like that. You kind of revolted here and there, or you poisoned certain foods and stuff, but you never really, in a massive way, revolted. Right. Yes. Until whites started fighting each other. You know what I mean? Until whites started fighting each other, then you're like, hold on, what are you talking? Oh, equality? Oh, everybody's free. Oh no, we weren't in on that.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's just like what makes a people sit there, what makes the light switch go off. You know, there's there's 400,000 slaves there, and what makes 50,000 of them say, you know what, today I think I had enough. After these 100 years, I think we had enough. You know,
that's good.
And it's just like I was just thinking about it, just like it's like a one in a million moment. It's kind of like a Big Bang Theory type.
That's very true. Because that one in a million moment you're mentioning, right? Like when I really think about it now and put it into thought, that could have been Jamaica.
It could have been any other island.
That could have been Guyana. It could have been any of those islands.
But this one right here,
right?
But this one right here, and you know, and it just expanded, and how are people, like literally, like how are people just being slaves transform themselves?
Yeah.
To being a nation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
You know,
100%.
To fight against militaries, the most superpowers of that world, to fight against the British, the Spanish,
and the
French.
Right.
You know, that's just like it's like a Big Bang Theory. Like what makes human beings, what makes them click together, what makes them say, you know what, this is the nation who we are today.
And that in itself was what America, especially the South, was afraid of, which is why they tried to suppress and hide that information of the Haitian Revolution.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because they were scared when they found out that they actually rebelled back in Haiti and won.
Definitely.
And conquered the land, you know, so. You know, that's interesting.
Definitely. Even the United States of America, like the independence, it's been going off. What? You've been here for 2 centuries. It's just like now you decide that, you know, yo, we're gonna throw England off, man. We're kind of done with this whole king thing. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing, though. I mean, even in this case, can you truly rebel when the problem is wealth?
Oh no, there is no.
Yeah, it's just
it's
like you're fighting an invisible man at that point.
No.
Yeah, that's real good.
It's gonna take a genius, man, and there's no like you know, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these people, they're not the igniters of the movement. That's the people moving. They just harness the energy and are able to convey the message in one person.
That's true.
You know, but they're not the igniters of it. The people are moving already.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like when the people are moving, that's when, you know,
I often hear
it just takes a lot.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
No one got no answers. Nobody got the answers.
No, without a doubt.
You ain't got the answers, Sway.
You ain't got the answers.
Don't got the answers.
That is a true fact. Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to add, gentlemen, before we move on to the words of the wise segment?
No, I'm pretty good.
Excellent. So we're going to move on to the word to the wise segment, our final segment of today's episode. All right. Mark, if you don't mind, I'll actually allow you to start off with the word to the wise, and then I'll go, and then Jerome can close us out since he's our guest for today's show.
Definitely. I guess my word would just be, just persevere. I mean, we don't have the answer, we don't have the solution, but we just have to keep going. The only thing we can do is keep going and try new things, try to gain knowledge, and just keep moving forward, because we don't know what's the right move and what's the wrong move.
Yeah.
But they switch gears on us every other generation. So it's tricky, man. We just have to persevere and keep going. We have some of the blueprint when it comes to wealth building, but just to get our whole community together, it's going to be complicated, man. But we just got to keep, trying to educate each other, see if we can try to get something moving. Yeah.
Dang, this is one of the hardest words to the wisest we've ever done, because this is truly such a convoluted topic.
Yeah.
But my word to the wise for today would be experiment. To kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Mark, just experiment and just, it's kind of like with what we were talking about earlier with me trying to learn how to make beats on the MPC. Just hit the drum pads, man. Hit the keys. Just try to start figuring things out. Find out what the flows are, what the rhythms are. You know what I'm saying? And just keep trying and try can I squeeze this much drum space within these 8 bars? Let me try to see if I can get that going. Because if I can get a hot ass rhythm with this, So just experiment, wise community and everyone in the black community, and kind of see where that can take you. So that's my word to the wise for today. It would just be experiment. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not even confident in that answer, but it's worth a try. What else do we have,
Yeah.
Jerome, what's your word to the wise for today?
Just awareness. Just be aware. Sometimes you can't. I found out it's hard to change a person's way of thinking, because that's part of their identity. And it's just just being aware of what's going on, who you are, and where you need to get to. And that's how I feel like sometimes, even in the black community, I feel like, just being aware. You may not can change the condition, but if, awareness is the first step. I feel just being aware.
Agreed. Now I'm with you on that. That's a fact. Aware. All right. Well, Jerome, again, like I said before, you are a wise guy now, man. Thank you for coming on to this episode of the show. And thank you for coming in and being our first studio guest, man.
Definitely. It's a blessing. Man.
Absolutely. We're always happy to have you on the show. And I think that this was a great follow-up to our prior conversation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, Jerome, if the people out there would like to reach you and figure out where they can connect and get to know you a little more or ask any questions, where can they find you online?
Oh, man, Instagram, man. I'm heavily on it. John Davis 1791. That's my gram name. Check me out. There's a lot of different other things I do.
Absolutely. A Renaissance man. Renaissance man.
So check me out.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this because this guy, he's just so humble with it. You know what I'm saying? I just want to add this in regards to Jerome. He could be the next W.E.B. Du Bois if he wanted to, man. This gentleman right here, he's profoundly gifted. He's intelligent. He's a scholar. He's an artist, writer, musician. This guy right here, he can be the next W.E.B. Du Bois, and as well as the other person I put you on to a month or 2 months ago, Gordon Parks, someone who's well-rounded and does a lot of things.
That's a beautiful thing.
For sure. So again, Jerome, we thank you for coming on to today's show, and we're actually, we'll let the Wise community know in a minute. But I just wanted to say this before we move on. This podcast itself, you can find us online on Anchor, Spotify, what else did I say before? Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Stitcher Radio. You can also find us on YouTube. Be sure to find us on there. Leave a review, please. If you are listening and tuning in on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a review on the show, and as well as be sure to rate the show. We need more ratings and more reviews, guys. The more we have you doing this, the more our show gets more aware to the public. We have a few people rocking with us out there, but we would want so much more, as we have already. So thank you so much. And you can find us online across all socials at The Wise Guys NYC. Again, that's all socials at The Wise Guys NYC. All right. This show is brought to you by Flowered Concrete, a media-based company hell-bent on providing the narratives of marginalized people. All right. So with that being said, next week's episode 44, is called Too Good for the Hood. Right? And we're actually bringing Jerome back for another episode.
That sounds great.
The first time we have a guest coming back on for 2 episodes in a season and back to back like Drake.
Exactly.
It should be good. You happy to be coming back with us, man?
I'm ecstatic.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
So, Wise community, don't get too, disattached or disconnected with Jerome yet. He'll be back for another week, all right? So, with that being said, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is your boy, Kevin Anglad.
And this is Mark Pruden.
And we are joined by our very special guest,
Jerome Davis.
And you have been tuning in to the Wise Guys podcast. We'll see you all next week.
Stay wise.
Stay wise.